What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we are of course going to be discussing our Detroit Lions. We're going to be answering the question of what now and what to expect from this channel as well. So let's get it started.
You know, I got to shout out DoseOfDion, man, because it was actually the first time I went live on YouTube. And you know, guys don't know DoseOfDion. He put out a lot of good content for the Detroit Lions.
Welcome everybody to another video. Glad you guys are here. And yes, we are back from that Minnesota Vikings loss. It is now Monday, so I'm a little bit calmer. Okay, yesterday you guys know I was a little heated. I didn't even make a regular takeaway video. I was just heated. And that's okay to have that. It's okay to be that as a fan. It's okay to be like that. We are fans, okay? We're not the coaches. We're the fans. We're okay to overreact. And Sunday is Overreaction Sunday. It's okay to be like that. So now it's Monday. I'm a little bit relaxed. I take a step back and I try to look at what happened, and I try to take a look back at the bigger picture. And as I continue to wait for the film, I try to look back and look at the bigger picture of this team. And I want to be straight up. I want to be straight up front with you guys and tell you what to expect. And if you like it, cool. If you don't, then this isn't for you. But here's what's going to happen on this channel. As of now, obviously this could change. Here's what's going to go down on my channel. Okay. I am going to not sit here and say, fire this guy, bang my head into a wall, make 7 videos saying why they should fire him. I'm not going to do that because I'm going to be realistic with myself and say this. Whether or not that's the right move, which it could be, it definitely could be, there's no point in me sitting here saying fire him when everybody else has already done that, right? If you go on any line of social media, that's all you're going to see is fire, fire, fire. Maybe that's the right move. Maybe it is. But I know for me personally, I don't have effect on anything that we see on Sunday. I don't have an effect. Now, what I try to do is I try to bring you guys the most information I can. That way you guys, know about the game. And I want to, bring you guys entertainment. I want to bring you guys information. And I want to give you guys my opinions and I want to listen to yours. That's what I do from what I do, right? I don't impact what they do on Sunday. So if they look trash, it's that they look trash. If they look great, they look great. I don't impact that. And I also don't impact their decision to fire Matt Patricia. As much as I may feel like I want to have an impact over what they decide to do with front office, as of now, that's not my pay grade. I have that ability to say that this is what the organization's got to do and then do it. I can't do any of that. I just sit here and put my opinions out there. So for me, what I'm going to focus on is currently what we have in the building. And I talked about this earlier in the year, and that's how it's going to continue to be because, well, I may throw in a video here and there on kind of my thoughts. I'm not going to put out every video and say just fire this guy because that's the move, when in reality, I don't have an effect they're going to do it. And personally, I don't think they're going to do it anytime soon. Now, at the end of the year, it's a different story. I just don't think they're going to do it during the season. So what now? What now is that I'm going to focus on this team. And look back at last game, still waiting for the film, but I'm watching back last game and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I want to look at the bigger picture of what's really going on here, because I think when you ultimately fire a guy, when you hire a guy, you look at the big picture of things. You have to look at the whole picture of what's actually going on here. And what I looked at for the Lions is that it became somewhat clear to me of who the Lions actually are, right? What our identity is as a team. We are a team that's some years below average, but most years average. We are basically an average team. Basically say lives on the edge. We live on the edge as a team right now. We're a team that, it's kind of like a teeter-totter, right? We're kind of right here. Sometimes we sway this way and we get the win. Sometimes we sway that way and we get the loss. But we're not a team that's on one side or the other, right? We're a very average team across the board. And that's what I see from this team. That's why the Lions need Matthew Stafford to play so well and be so mistake-free to win football games. And I don't think we're seeing this, okay, this year, yeah, they're just an average team. This is something that we've seen even in their playoff years. Like, if we're being honest with ourselves, really aside from 2014 when they had a great defense, and an average team every single year, Matthew Stafford's been here, if not below average. And that's why sometimes, every once in a while we'll have a playoff season, and every once in a while we'll have a terrible season. And that's why year to year we don't see, progression, and we don't see the same decline. It's like this year was completely different from last year. That's why we have a team that can go from 6 wins to 10, right? That can go to 10 to 4, right? Because there's inconsistencies when you look at what the Lions have, and that's because they're an average team that's practically living on the edge. So I'm going to focus on everything that the Lions do, right? Where can they improve, right? Where do they need to improve? What do they need to do better? What they do well now, where we're seeing signs of improvement. If you look at all their playoff years, let's go back to their last playoff year. 8 comebacks of their 9 wins. 8 of the 9 wins were comebacks. What if we don't come back in any of those games? Really? Did you ever think, what if we didn't come back in those games and win? We would have been 1-15. Now, some not as dramatic as others. We would have been 1-15, and technically, if we didn't come back in 8 fourth quarters. 1-15, 9-7. Like, look how big of a swing that is, right? That was a playoff year for us. That was a good year for us. Obviously, voice my displeasure with Darrell Bevell and how he is doing things offensively, and I feel like they could definitely do things better offensively. We'll probably dive into that when we get to film and things like that into more detail. But to just put in perspective how crazy and how close this team is, like, think about this for a second. Last time the Lions made the playoffs was 2016, right? Good year, right? Good year. You take the 2016 team stats, all right, you compare them to the 2020 stats so far. It's scary. It's scary how similar they are. And this is a 3-5 team versus a playoff team. Think about this. In 2016, defensively, they allowed 4.4 yards per carry, a 106.5 pass rating, and 5.9 yards per play. In 2020, now we talked about how much they've improved over really 5 straight weeks. Still on the year, it's 4.8 yards per carry, which is obviously worse. But it's shown improvements really up till last game. 101.7 pass rating, a lower pass rating allowed, and the same yards per play. How about offensively? Offensively, we ran for 3.7 yards per carry, one of the worst in the league in 2016. This season, we're rushing for 4.1, better. Offensively, 93.3 passer rating. This season, 91.7. Do you see how similar these numbers are? There's not a major difference. So this is my point, is that, for what we're looking at here, to say that the Lions have just completely dropped off and things like that, yes, in terms of record, they have. They don't look great in terms of record. There still is a full season left, but this is the same type of team that was a playoff team back in 2016. It's still an average team where we need that Matthew Stafford magic at the end. And in 2016, we had it 8 times. We could have been 1-15. This season, we haven't had it as often. We had a completion against the Saints where we didn't get the ball back at the end, right? We've had opportunities, but we haven't had that same type of magic at the end of games. But that just shows you how statistically close they are across the board. So I'm going to focus on improvements that this team can make. You want Jim Caldwell and things like that? I get it, why you like Jim Caldwell, things like that, because obviously, they made the playoffs 2 times. But for the Lions, you can just see how close they are when it comes to similarity statistically. So for the Detroit Lions, I'm going to focus on where they can improve and things like that. That way we can take more pressure off of Matthew Stafford, not have to ask him to do so much, because we cannot continue to ask this guy to do so much, right? We ask him to do so much, and this is why people say, man, I'd be okay if he went other way and won somewhere else because he deserves it. Because we're right to say that he does deserve to win football games because he does so much for this team, and he is the backbone of this organization. He's been the backbone since 2009. We understand that. So for what we're seeing here statistically, I mean, that should really make you think like, wow, that's kind of crazy to think how close those are. Even after our bad games this year, like they're really that close statistically. That's super close on both sides of the ball. And yet one team is a playoff team and one team's 3-5. We don't know what we're going to get from this team. I mean, they've shown they can compete, right? We lost by 6 to the Saints. We beat the Arizona Cardinals, and then we come back and lose to Minnesota. We're so inconsistent because of that reason. Let's continue to improve in those areas, and hopefully we can get some Matthew Stafford magic on the second half of the season. But we don't want to have to rely on that, because no matter who your head coach is, no matter who comes in next, the fact is, if you have to rely on that to be a good team, you will not have consistent years. We ask, okay, why are the Lions not like other teams where they can win every year? Because they have other things we don't. They are consistently. All these numbers are below average. These are not good numbers for 2016 or 2020 on defense or offense. But they're similar. They're almost the same in everything. But the difference is 8 comebacks, not 8 comebacks, right? 3-5, 9-7. The games could have went either way in both seasons. One team's a playoff team. One team we're talking about firing them. We're sitting at 4-4, which where they were sitting. Again, when we went to playoffs last time, we could be looking at this completely different. I mean, we not even have these talks if they're sitting at 4-4. So I think that's why it's super important to say, okay, let's take a step back. Let's realize who this team is. Now, I get it. We want to be better than an average team. We really do. We really do. And if you're a guy that says, hey, look, I'm about the future. I want to fire Patricia because that's better for a future. Well, honestly, if you think Patricia's that bad, then you probably should root for them to keep Patricia, because that, in your mindset is that they'll be actually worse with Matt Patricia. So technically, they should keep him. That way we get a higher draft pick, and then you fire him at the end of the year when they lose out. That should be your mindset if you think Patricia is the complete problem here. But if that's not your thinking and you still think you want to fire Patricia, then understand, yes, I have nothing against firing Patricia. I get it why you want that. I'm not saying it's the right move to keep him. My point is, firing him right now won't really help you at all. I don't see how it would help you. If we get the Morris situation, maybe we start winning a few games. Do we want any of these coordinators personally to take over? And again, if you're a guy that thinks that, hey, we're going to lose out with Patricia anyways, we'll go 3-13. If you keep saying that to yourself, 3-13, then you should want Patricia to stay. And your rebuilding mindset should be, okay, then keep Patricia. Go 3-13, give me a higher draft pick. Right now, it's a game of 4 to 5 plays. The Lions win and lose games in 4 to 5 plays every single week. There's really no margin between winning and losing. I mean, it is a very thin line, right? That's where the Lions are as a team. I mean, look at the Bucs and Saints last night, right? The Bucs and Saints. 2 good teams facing each other. We're thinking, oh, this is going to be a great game, but they're pretty comparable. They're still good teams. Tampa Bay goes out and gets beat by 35. Who was expecting? We were way more competitive than they were against New Orleans. But is anybody coming away from that saying, well, Tampa Bay's not a good team? You shouldn't. You shouldn't say Tampa Bay's not a good team. Even for them, because of that matchup, that was one of those games where it was like, wow, yeah, just a few plays didn't go their way early, and all of a sudden it's 31-0. You have some interceptions, and the game gets out of hand, and that's what we've seen from the Lions. This is why we can't just simply focus on a score and say, well, this is how much they lost by, so they're bad. You got to dig a little bit deeper than that, and that's what I'm going to be trying to do over here on this channel. I mean, that was a competitive matchup. That was playing a good Saints team, and you can see just by that alone, well, look at the Lions. I mean, the Lions could be a much better team. This is why so many people look. Okay, let's do this. Let's start in 2019. You can go through all the years, but let's go to 2019 because it's in recent memory. Lions 3-4-1, 8 weeks through the season, 8 weeks through the season. Stafford gets hurt. We know how the rest went. But through those 3-4-1 games, how many people said the Lions could have won 7 games? A lot of people say the Lions could have won 7 games. And they should have won 7 games, right? You had the Green Bay one with the messed up refs. You lost by 1. You had the Chiefs. You were 1 play away from beating the Chiefs, right? You were on the 1-yard line versus the Raiders tying that game. A lot of games that were just decided by literally really 1 play. And then the games that we won, same thing, right? You tied the Cardinals. How close can that get, right? The Eagles game. If he catches that bomb, all of a sudden you lose. The Chargers game. If he doesn't throw a pick in the end zone, you're probably at least going to overtime. So think about it. Like, even every year, that's kind of where the Lions are. And I think that's why we're some years 10 wins, some years 6 wins. Because we're basically just a mediocre team with Matthew Stafford. And when we rely on Matthew Stafford, that's what you're going to get because we don't have anything behind him. You don't have anything else to really rely on. It's banking on Matthew Stafford. And let's get this straight. Stafford's the leader of this team. I mean, let's not sugarcoat it. Let's say how it is. The fact is this. Matthew Stafford is the leader of this team, and he has been since 2009. There's no question about it. There's no question whatsoever. Stafford's the leader of this team because there's a difference in the energy and how things go. Matthew Stafford had a rough week. Okay, Matthew Stafford had a really rough week. And I think, I was talking to Taylor earlier. He said you can basically put an asterisk by this game. And I think you kind of can because if you think about it, this was a very strange week for Matthew Stafford. We're surprised that he even got to play. And if you look at how the Lions came out, it was a reflection of not having your leader in practice. Matthew Stafford had a very rough week. I'm glad to hear everything, was okay. But, his daughter, she dealt with an injury while he wasn't able to go see her. He was on the COVID list, couldn't see his family. All of this stuff is going on. For Matthew Stafford, he had a very rough week. I mean, it was a very tough time. And there's emotional things that go into that. Everybody knows that side can get involved in how you play in the game day. And first and foremost, that's more important than the game day, right? So for Matthew Stafford, he had a very rough week. And heading into the game, you can see without practicing with Matthew Stafford, how many times this year have we got out and said, man, we got off to a hot start. And then all of a sudden in this game, we get off to our slowest start by far of the season. I mean, it's 13-0 just like that. I mean, it looked bad. Defensively, we came out like we were asleep. It's like, what happened? How did this happen? Matthew Stafford wasn't there all week. We didn't get to see this guy till Sunday. They didn't get to see him till Sunday. And he's just on meetings. So it's different when your leader's not there on the other side of the ball. And if you think about it, okay, Lions fought back, things like that. But then let's go to the fourth quarter, right? Matthew Stafford gets hit, he's injured. Lions aren't playing well at this point, but he's injured. Stafford goes out, concussion protocol, goes into the locker room. Look at how the Lions played after that. Yes, they scored to Hawkinson. I mean, it was a push-off, whatever. It was a dump-off. But aside from that, defensively and offensively, offense, we weren't catching passes anymore. We were just basically knocking them down. We didn't want to catch it. We didn't want to take a hit. Right? Defensively, we basically gave up. I mean, I know people look at stats and say, well, you gave up 8.1 yards per carry. They were terrible against the run. But if you look at that fourth quarter, almost 100 yards. I think over 100 yards. Yeah, well over 100 yards came in the fourth quarter. I mean, 70-yard run, an 18-yard rushing drive, and the next drive, 49 yards rushing. That was your fourth quarter. A lot of those yards came in the fourth. So for the Lions, without having your leader on the other side, and this is what I was talking about when we were watching, is that the thing is, once you take Stafford out, you know that leader is not on the other side. You know that you are fighting because you want to give him the ball back because you know there's a chance. When Chase Daniel's in, that's not the same situation. And you could tell by the Lions' performance defensively that they basically gave up on the game. Again, we're humans. They gave up. They knew what was going on. They said, there's no Daniel. We're down by multiple touchdowns. They basically gave up on the football game. And that's what we saw. Even if Stafford's playing awful, we know that he's the leader of this team, and people look at him and say, look, we just want to give him a chance. That's all we have to do is give him a chance. Without him, the team didn't play with the same energy. They didn't play with the same mindset, and you could see that on the field. Stafford's the leader of this team. We don't have anything else as a team. So what I'm trying to focus on is where the Lions can improve as a team. Because if you look at this season, there's many games that you can say, well, Lions can win that. Think about how much different we'd be looking at Matt Patricia if the Lions win week 1 and Swift catches the pass. Maybe there's not a lot of injuries in week 1. Maybe we just win that game straight up. At least we're 4-4. I mean, 4-4 feels much different than 3-5 because now you beat the Bears. You beat a divisional team. Yeah, we beat a divisional team. I mean, think about it. And then the games that we lose by multiple touchdowns. Oh, we lost by 20. It was bad. But even in those games, it was decided by a few plays that made it get out of hand. It did. We all know it did. I mean, the Packers game, right? You're up by 4 heading in half. All of a sudden, you're down by 10 coming out of the second half. By the time your offense gets the ball back because of flag, they score. Then out of the half, they break it for a touchdown run. It's just a few plays because the Lions are a team that's living on the edge. It's hard to gauge where they are as a team because 3-5, I know people say you are, your record says you are, but for the Lions, are they? I mean, yeah, they're not a good team. I'm not saying they're a great team. But what I'm saying is they're just right in the middle of a team that to me is just straight up average. They are straight up average. I'm not super happy with how Darrell Bevell has done things offensively. And I feel like they've been underperforming as a group. And some of that goes on Stafford, right? Of course. But obviously, our offense, it really is dependent on Kenny Golladay. And Kenny Golladay is a huge part of this offense. I mean, not saying that's right, but that's what it is. I mean, a lot of our shots come from simply Kenny Golladay being out there across from Marvin and not allowing double teams. Against the Vikings, they dropped everything. They settled everything they forced everything underneath. We didn't have Kenny Golladay to stretch the field, right? So they didn't stretch the field in that game. They took one pass deep and that was it. Kenny Golladay is clearly a huge part of this team. And we've seen it in the record as the Lions have a winning record when he's on the field. So that's an impact that we had to deal with too. And I'm not saying, okay, well, injuries are an excuse. I'm saying, hey, look, that can't be the case. That shouldn't be an excuse that your offense is doing well. But there's definitely some things going on here where it's not like, okay, all of a sudden the Lions are this complete trash team. They're basically the same team that they've been for a minute now, really since Drew Caldwell has been here. They are just not above average. And, you can look at that however you want to, but that's not who they are as a team, and they need to continue to build that. And maybe, Matthew Stafford isn't playing his best so far this season. We've seen it. He's not playing at his best so far this season. We've seen the potential to do it last year with Bevell. This year, he's not. And I think Bevell has stuff to do with that. And I think, positions are putting him, but he's not playing at his best. So also that could potentially be a good thing if we're willing to look at it as this and say, hey, look, Matthew Stafford may not be playing at his best, but that should be able to not cloud our vision as to where Stafford's literally just carrying us every single game we're winning because of that, where we can say, okay, there's literally a problem going on here. We need to be better as a team. And that's why I'm going to focus on the improvements because we've seen them in certain categories of the team, especially special teams. They've been doing their thing. Shout out to the special teams. Prater's missed field goals. You can't really expect that's going to happen coming into the year. And we've had bad seasons because guys like our kickers, we haven't been able to make kicks. There's these little things that go into it. And still, statistically, the Lions are basically the same as their last playoff appearance. They, at the same time, were not a very good team. They were just getting carried by Stafford. And right now, we're not. And there's a couple little things that have gone on. I'm interested to see how this finishes. So what do the Lions need to do? They need to focus on the other things aside from Matthew Stafford. They need to focus on improving in those other areas. Because if you improve in the other areas, all of a sudden, you can afford Matthew Stafford not playing at a very, very high level to win a football game. We have not won games where we turn the ball over multiple times this year. They just haven't done it. We have not done it. Look at the games we won. Stafford's stats, the games we won, are the 3 of the 4 best of his season. Arizona, he was incredible. His best stat line of the season, right? Atlanta, incredible. Jacksonville, solid stats. Pretty high completion percentage, though. Pretty good rating. 1 pick by the defensive line. Pretty good, right? So that's been our games so far this season. Those are the games that we're winning. And for the Lions, that's what they've had to rely on this season. And that's why so many games could have went this way and they could have went the other. Because the Lions, like a lot of teams that are in that average range of 8-8, things like that, that's who we are. We are 8-8 with Matthew Stafford. And every once in a while, Stafford will have enough magic in the tank to make us a playoff team. But that's who we are. We are not a great team right now. And will firing the coach help that? Maybe not. But I don't think we have right now a team that's going to be that great. I don't think firing the coach for the rest of the season is going to make you all of a sudden a great team. I just don't see it. And think about it like this. What if you do fire Matt Patricia? What's going to happen to all those guys that he brought in, right? All these Patriot guys, I want to play with Matty P. I want to play with Matty P. Well, now you fire Matty P. How do you think they're going to respond to that? Well, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be here. This stinks. I don't want to be here anymore. That's how the response will be to that. We know it. So, there's also downsides to firing guy. Just firing someone doesn't equal better. That's not how things work. It doesn't equal better. And look, when you look at lines up against schedule, you can't say with certainty that they should win this game, they're going to lose this game. Because we don't know what to expect every week. That's why we've beaten Arizona. And we've lost to a team like Minnesota. Now, Minnesota's not a bad team, but again, they're kind of like us. They're average. That's why things like that are happening to Detroit. Because they're right in between, and when Stafford plays extremely well, they can win those games. But if he's just playing good or average, the Lions aren't winning these football games. And that's what we need to focus on. Where are the Lions improving as a team? And there's a couple areas, and we'll dive more into it on film, but there's a couple areas to at least look at and say they've improved. The run defense. I know last game wasn't great. I said a lot of those numbers were skewed because they were. But look at this. Heading into that game, since the Cardinals game, after your first 2, which went really bad, they made adjustments. The run defense got much better. For 5 straight weeks, you allowed 4 yards, 3.9 yards, 2.8 yards, 2.5 yards, 3.1 yards per carry. Against teams that could run the ball. 3.9 yards per carry against the Saints. Special teams. 3 block punts in 2 weeks, that's not normal. That's improvement. That's focusing. That's watching film. That's figuring it out, right? There are little places that there are improvements, but if you simply just say, here's the score, they stink, then you won't ever, really get to see where they're improving. There's also places where they're not improving. But I think that's what the Lions need to do. Focus on those little areas, continue to improve in those areas, and that'll give you a better chance to win games when Stafford's not playing at his best. Because if you look at all the teams, you can see historically that's how it works. Look at a Super Bowl team. Do the Super Bowl teams win a Super Bowl saying, hey, look, we got nothing else, but if our quarterback plays really well, we'll win the game? Heck no. All the Super Bowl teams have a great defense, a really good running game, and they have a good quarterback. But that good quarterback could play good, could play bad. We've seen terrible quarterbacks win Super Bowl because you have to have the other things. Lions right now, they don't have the other things consistently. Some weeks they do, some weeks they don't. That's where the improvement must be. And that's where we must focus, because if they continue to improve in those small areas, all of a sudden, we will see the Lions be a better team, even when Stafford's not playing best. We could see the Lions win games when he's not playing at his best. I mean, heck, go look at Tom Brady so far this season. When he hasn't played well, they've lost. When Brady doesn't play up to Brady's standards, Tampa Bay loses. And sometimes it's ugly like last game. I mean, it is really, really ugly. That's what we're going to be focusing on this channel. That's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to bang my head in the wall and say, fire this guy, because it's just, I don't have the impact over it. And honestly, I don't know what would come of it. Me saying fire Patricia doesn't equal better. I have no idea there's nothing I could look at and say this get better or this get worse. Same thing with firing the general manager. There's nothing to point to there. And honestly, I don't know if I want a coordinator taking over as our head coach. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts, comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm out. Are you kidding me right now? I had to put my helmet on for this one. Are you kidding? Look at this. Look at all these members. What? Yo, hey, shout out to all the members, man. Look how many All-Pro members there are. Like, literally, it's the whole screen, dog. This is crazy. The patrons, of course, the Hall of Fame members, man. Y'all got the gold color. It's kind of yellow, but it's supposed to be gold. Shout out to all the members, man. If you want to be a part of this, all you got to do is join the channel. But there are perks that come with it. Stay locked in the community tab if you are a member, because that's where a lot of information comes out. I appreciate all of you. What?